Well, till this moment, I watched lots of animes, read lots of mangas, and uh, I watched many different movies and TV series, and of course, I read lots of ordinary books. And for now, most of them are forgotten for me. I can recall these books or movies by maybe reading the plot in Wikipedia, or going through the movie like with the steps of 5 minutes, just to recall what the movie was about. But for now, it's not the topics that are interested for me, so that are interesting for me. So it's kind of a waste of time to yeah, that I walked through all this material, but at that moment in the past, I had no ability to express myself in English in a verbal version. So all these stories just got into my memory, and I didn't use them for making these recordings. So, well, now I can make short stories on many movies that I watched, and just on the impressions that I still have in my memory about these movies. It won't be too long, I think 10 minutes, 15 minutes at maximum, so I can put about four stories about for reviews about 4 movies per a video in this type of recordings. Maybe that will be alright, because I don't need to think about some material, or to read some material in advance to prepare myself for this type of videos. And the second, well, yeah, I will have enough thoughts on different stuff from the world that I can translate into English without having these troubles of finding something to talk in English, to practice my vocabulary, to practice my fluency in English. So what I'll just go with something simple like George from the jungle, or George of the jungle, I don't know. I watched this movie in Russian because well, I have the ability to watch movies in English only for the last 10 years, and George from Jungle was the movie that I watched first maybe when I was 10 years old, and then I watched it when they showed it on TV. Yeah, and on TV it was always in Russian. So, yeah, but this is a good comedy and I like it very much. So I remember a lot from it, lots of different moments. So I can train my vocabulary usage on this material as well. So Brendan Fraser, who is the Canadian actor, he portrayed this George from Jungle in 1997, I think 1997, and it was the maybe his peak of acting career. Well, I never studied his biography because he wasn't so popular like Keanu Reeves from Matrix and John Wick franchises, and I didn't know anything about him until recently. When maybe 5 years ago I decided to check on him because I remembered this George from Jungle. I didn't have any desire to watch it in English from the beginning to the end, or maybe I watched it once. Anyway, I just decided to learn Brendan Fraser's kind of fate, and I was surprised that he started his acting career in the beginning of 90s with different movies that I never watched, but I learned about him from Mummy, and this action movie that was set maybe in the beginning of 20th century in Egypt, with all this curses of pharaohs, mummies, and other stuff. And he played some soldier, I don't know from what country, maybe the English soldier. Anyway, this particular movie made him the superstar, and then the second part came, The Mummy Returns, and it was not bad. I think it was even better in the way of additional actions and additional stories. So I liked it very much, and well, I never checked what box office the second movie had. I think, well, I just like it. And George from Jungle was the comedy that was made somewhere in this period of time. Then in the beginning of 2000, Brendan Fraser had several other movies, like I don't know the name of the movie, but it was the Befuddled. It was the remake of some movie from 1950s or 60s, when the devil in the form of beautiful woman came to some guy. Well, this is all I know about this movie, but in this remake, Brendan Fraser was this guy, and the devil in the form of the beautiful woman was portrayed by some actress. Well, I can't remember her name now, but I just knew and know that this movie was created, and then yeah, Brendan Fraser disappeared from the Hollywood environment, Hollywood movies. Then he appeared in the third Miami, and it was very, very bad movie. The third part, yeah. I don't know, but the actress from the first two movies refused to play in this particular episode, but Brendan Fraser acted in it, and well, I didn't hear from him for a long period of time. So in 2017 or 18, I think, yeah, the internet community kind of remembered about him, and they started to search the information about him, and they learned that he had very not unhappy, not bad, but unsuccessful career for the maybe since 2005. At some point, he was married, and then they divorced, and his wife got the elements from him, about $900 for a month, through the cause trial during the divorce, and this money should go for his, I think, 2 sons. Yeah, I don't know really the information. Anyway, at some point, Fraser asked the judges to make the payment smaller, because he had the problems with his career. He didn't act in any movies, so he couldn't pay this much money as the elements. But his wife believed that he just didn't want to pay for his pay on his sons. Anyway, somehow they made the payment smaller, and then somewhere in 2015 his mother died, and in 2017 some interviewer took the interview from Brendan Fraser, and he was in very poor psychological state, and at this moment the internet community created the hashtag save Brendan, yeah, and finally, well, he became during 90s and during the 2000 until 2010 maybe, he was quite fit physically. In Georgian Jungle he demonstrated very good figure with abs, with biceps and muscles, yeah, his body was quite physically fit, but in 2015-17 he was kind of overweighted. All the charm of this I don't know, fitted, all the charms all the charm of this fitted guy was gone, and he was just overweighted and sad and quite old. And at some point he was invited to play in some I don't know, art house movie where he played the guy who was super overweighted, like 200 maybe kilograms, and Brendan Fraser, wore this prosthetic costume to make him look this fat. And this art house or small budget movie, it was called Whale. So it was nominated for Oscar as for him as the best actor, and surprisingly he won his Oscar with this Whale movie. It was maybe 2 years ago, and after that I found accidentally I found this interview of 2017 where he was quite upset and other stuff. And in the comments of that particular year, the guys wrote that we needed to save Brandon. And then after this Oscar win, other guys went back to this movie and wrote in the comments that 2023, for example, Brandon was saved, even at last. Okay, so I watched only 3 movies with him: Two Mummies and George from Jungle. And I didn't rewatch Mummies for a very long time, maybe 20 years, but George from Jungle is quite an interesting comedy, and it was aired on the TV maybe once in 5 years, so I watched it not from the beginning to the end, but some random moments when I switched on this particular channel. So it's the comedy that was based on this Tarzan stuff that George when George was a small baby, he traveled with his parents on the plane, and then the plane crashed, his parents died, and he survived, and he was raised by the gorillas, and this by apes, and these gorillas were so intelligent that they used some utilities from this plane, like they could cook using the pans and pots. They could read the books that were saved from this plane and other stuff, but George I think it was somewhere in the South Africa, or maybe in the Central Africa. So he wear only his, I don't know how this stuff is called in English, something that covered his hips, pelvis area, hips, and it was made from leaves of the trees. Anyway, he lived with his apes, with his gorillas, and these gorillas even learned to speak, so they speak to him in English. Yeah. And then some expedition came to Africa. I don't know. They hunted some gorillas, maybe some elephants, and they transported them to, let's say, to America for zoo, for the zoo. Yeah, they sold them to the zoo. It was the bad guy and his girlfriend, his fiance, and I think several other white guys, and lots of locals who were the guides for this bad guy with his fiance. And this team learned that there was the legend of white ape that lived somewhere in the Central Africa, so the locals took this team, and they traveled to the Central Africa, and at some point something happened, and this fiance girl, she was separated from the team, and somehow she met this George from jungles, and they became acquainted. He introduced her to his family of gorillas. They could speak. They talked to her. No. It was the comedy. So when first the gorilla talked to her, she fainted because it was a shock for her. So gorilla continued to talk to George, but when this woman came to his, I don't know, his living place, and when she saw these gorillas behaved the way the normal gorillas behaved, like monkeys. They hit themselves with their arms. They jumped on the place, and they created some monkey sounds. Anyway, there were lots of interesting comedy stuff during these events, and really I don't remember them, unfortunately. But I remember the whole idea of the movie, so I'll continue with this stuff. Okay, some comedy stuff that I remember now. Well, George liked to take the liana, this lawn plant thing that that hung from the tree, and grasping this grasping this liana thing, George like flew through the air, making this George's sounds like oh, ooh, 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 something like that. And usually his flight with this liana ended with him hitting the trunk of the tree on his way. Yeah. Then he just fell to the ground off this trunk of the tree. And it was one of the comedy moments that was repeated several times during his travels in the jungle. And when he first met this woman, when she was separated of her team, she fell to some opening in the jungle, and there was a big lion. Yeah, and then George came with his liana, and he hit the trunk of the tree, fell on the ground, and then he fought against this lion, something like these guys, American wrestlers. Yeah, George fought against the lion the way the American wrestlers fought against each other, and then he successfully defeated the lion and threw him into the jungle. It was quite an interesting scene, comedy scene in the almost in the beginning of the movie, and I remember it quite well. Well, then at some point, I just remembered that her boyfriend called her Ursula. In Russian it is Ursula, but in English it's Ursula or Ursula or Ursula. I think Ursula, like Ursula Le Guin, the writer who created the Wizard of Earthsea. Anyway, one called her fiance called for her in the jungles when his team searched for her. Okay, I don't remember the details, but at some point he found his fiance, but they also found all these gorillas, and they somehow they caught one of the gorillas and took her into the cage and transported her to America, maybe to Los Angeles. And when George came to his place and he found out about this loss of his friend, he decided to go to America and return and took back his gorilla friend and his new girlfriend. So he wore this I don't know the model, this not sneakers, cross, yeah, I don't know the word either. Okay, let's say sneakers, and he ran in his sneakers across the Africa to the shore of the Africa, and yeah, he ran even faster when he was barefoot, and this was the power of these sneakers. Anyway, somehow he traveled to America, maybe on the ship or maybe in the plane, in some luggage or something, don't remember. Anyway, when he got to Los Angeles, somehow he found his gorilla friend. Yeah, and the interesting the comedy scene was when he pursued I think the truck with this gorilla on board, with the cage with this gorilla on board, and he saw this this huge bridge, the Golden Gate, and all these ropes that held the bridge. They looked like his favorite lianas. So he somehow took the rope and he flew over this bridge, making his favorite sound. And again he hit the wall or the pole of this bridge, the way he hit the trunk of the tree. Anyway, somehow he freed his gorilla, and they successfully returned back to Africa, to his living place. And the additional to this to his family was this white woman, Ursula, who stayed with him in the jungle, and who became the part of the jungle. And in the end of the movie, I think it was made as cartoons. The child was shown, the small baby. He lived in the jungles as well, and he inherited his father's ability to fly on the lianas and hit every tree on his way. And this comedy had very interesting song in the end, George and Jungle. George and Jungle. Anyway, I liked this stuff very much, and really, maybe I will rewatch it someday, because the comedy style of this particular movie is quite unique. Well, it's kind of parody for Tarzan, but most of the Tarzan movies and cartoons were just the adaptation of Tarzan book. But this particular movie is the comedy and the parody for the stuff, and it's unique. It was never, well, I think it was George from the Jungle 2 with different actors. So yeah, so I just skipped this movie because there was Brendan Fraser in it anymore, and I wasn't interested in this stuff. Okay, now I remember an interesting fact that I learned from internet about Brendan Fraser. There is an opinion that at some moment somewhere on the party in 2003, maybe 2005, Brendan Fraser took part in this party because he was the famous actor at the time, though he's not American, he's from Canada. Anyway, and some quite old producer kind of he pinched, can I say this word? Pinched Brendan on his butt, pinched, like, with his arm, or maybe kind of slapped Brendan on his butt with his arm. Brendan didn't like it, and he because he was a real man, and he somehow he expressed his negative reaction to this action. And after this, this particular producer made everything so that Brandon's career was finished. And really, after these years, he had no major action movies and other stuff as he had the previous 10 years. So it may be the possible explanation why his career finished so abruptly. Anyway, a couple of years ago, he won his I don't know the next word as well. He won the Oscar for which he worked all these years, but his point of view on the world, on the Hollywood career changed. I think he has now the ranch in Texas, and he spends his time on this ranch with his sons. So this is how things went for Brendan Fraser. And all this stuff took me almost 40 minutes just to describe some information that I had on his career and some memories that I have on this George from Jungle movie. So, well, what else? I can spend a couple of I can spend the next 5 minutes recalling some facts, maybe from the Mummy movie that I watched, and actually, I don't really remember the first Mummy at all. I watched it, and then I watched the second Mummy, and I think I watched 2 or 3 times this sequel. So all the events from the first movie were shadowed by the second movie. I remember that in the second movie there was this kind of scorpions, completely computer model, the guy with the human torso and the body of the scorpion, and this kind of scorpions was portrayed by Dwayne Rock Johnson, maybe one of his first appearances in the movies. There was the whole business in the second movie was about the lava of the Mummy guy when somehow she was killed in the ancient Egypt, and he promised he promised that he will revive himself, and he would revive himself, and then he would revive her so that they could be together forever. Yeah, I remember the small moment when okay, this Brendan Fraser and his girlfriend or wife and some other guy, they traveled on some flying vehicle, not the plane, but something with this huge. It's like the balloon, yeah, something like balloon, but not it. Anyway, they flew in this balloon over the river, and at some point a huge face of this mummy guy appeared above the river, between the mountains, because the river flew, the river ran between the mountains. And maybe this huge face somehow created the huge wave of water, and all this water rushed along the river between the mountains, and then maybe it hit the balloon, and then something happened, but really I don't remember for now. Yeah, so I think that's all that I can get from my memory about Brendan Fraser and his movies that I watched. So I think I will stop. I'll stop with the recording for today.